Hey guys, welcome to Punky's World. This is a genealogy video. This is actually a lot of information, but I need to call a cemetery. I am looking through my notes. Okay. Oh, my nose. Anyway. Yeah. So, on the first page, basically, it's family members, like my father's cousin, all of her kids are listed, and information I could find about them, like her oldest son has a Purple Heart, probably from Vietnam. And then I have the wives' names of the ones I could find. And I have her two daughters. And then I have the Johnston family. And that's confusing because my great-grandfather's sister was a Wilson who married a Johnston. Well, her daughter in turn married an unrelated Wilson, which made it kind of weird when you're doing genealogy. Because Wilson's such a common name, but unusual for that to happen. And then I have my father's cousin Bill, Margaret Wilson Waddell, who I have to call the cemetery for, Dinah Wilson Herzog's grandchildren, just notes about things that I need to and this is just notes from a book that my mother and I had at Velvet. So, last night, Chat gave me a website that could translate the old French on the back of the postcards to English. Well, it automatically detected the language and translated it to English, but it translated it to gibberish with a few words here and there that make sense. Well, it's because it's an old dialect. The dialect is called Breton, Breton, from Brittany, France. I'm grateful for the knowledge, even though the translation was a mess. I mean, I got dates, but I don't know what the dates are in reference to. Now, my mother's friend from school was talking about another language spoken in Brittany, Brittonic. I think it's a different language because he said it was a Celtic language. So I think what he's talking about is not the same. I mean, it was interesting nonetheless, and I thanked him, but I don't think it's the same language. So, but yeah, that is the dialect of French that they spoke for whatever reason. Because they spoke Canadian French, but that is what the translator picked up on. I even tried Google Translate once I got that information, and it still came up the same gibberish. I had a few dates. I think it's because of the handwriting. Because the handwriting's so darn old. Excuse me. Ugh. Because the handwriting is so darn old. I'm wondering if I scan the picture rather than take a picture of the picture, if I scan it, if I'll get a better result. You know what I mean? Instead of trying to do it from a picture of the back of a picture, if I actually scan the image in. To the computer, if it'll be more clear and I'll get more words that make sense. Because I got months and days. And I got a name. So, wondering if that might help in the translation. I'll keep you updated on it. But I'm so happy to have that little tidbit of information, you know, that I didn't expect to get. I expected it to detect French and say French to English. When it said Breton, Breton, I went, what is that? This is French. So I Google searched it and it said it's spoken in Brittany. I'm like, okay. So in Canada, they speak a language from Brittany, you know? Because this was from Canada, this wasn't from France. So that means my family spoke a very specific dialect of French. And that's amazing to learn. Wish my dad were here to learn it. You know, to learn what he spoke. Because my father was bilingual. Most people probably didn't know that. But my father was bilingual. He spoke French and English. He couldn't read or write French. Actually, he could read it a little bit. Because I remember him reading it to us. It was something genealogical and he was able to read it. But he can't write in French. Couldn't write in French. And he could read a little bit. But those postcards he couldn't see to read. So, to make any heads or tails of. But I have seen him read documents in French. You know, doing genealogy and we get a document in French. I can do that. Because I recognize months. I recognize the words for spouse, the words for child, things like that. I recognize those words so I can put it together. Then he knew those words. I've seen him look at gravestones in cemeteries that were, of course, written in French, and he knew who it was. You know? So, I know he could read it a little bit, but he was he could speak. Excuse me. Excuse me. Bilingual. Why do I have my remote in my hand? So, that's just something people may not have known about my dad. He spoke French and English. And actually, he would have been multilingual had he grown up around his other grandparents. Because his other grandmother would have had him speaking to her in Gaelic. So yeah, one grandmother speaking to him in French, and he would have had the other one speaking to him in Gaelic. Ah. But he learned the French right along with the English as he was learning to speak. So for him, it was just natural. And every once in a while, he would say a French word to me. What? I'm gonna say he would do that to her too sometimes. He would just say something, and she would go, "What?" I've told the story about me eating the sandwich. We were out having a picnic on the deck, and I jettisoned whatever was on the sandwich onto myself. And he said, "Kushan." I said, "What?" He said, "Pig." We all laughed. He taught me how to count in French when I was a kid. I know how to count in French and Spanish. I used to know how to count to 10. I can now only count to 3. My father could count to 10 and higher, but he taught me to 10. And I've lost it. I can count to 3. So it was funny because my therapist can count in French. And he counted all the way to 10. I lost 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Because my father would routinely count like 1, 2, 3 in French to me. That was something he did as far back as I can remember. And I've heard him count higher than that. Like I said, he routinely counted in French. So it's something I grew up with. So I try to do it like when I'm changing the height on the tripod, I'll count each leg, add dat trois. So at least I have that, you know, to try to keep that part of him alive in me, you know, and to know some of the words that I know and keep him and my grandmother, my great grandmother alive in me, keep their language alive in me, you know, so the best that I can. So it felt so good when my therapist was counting and oh my gosh. So, and I have been told I'm natural with languages. So, and it drives me crazy. I'll be watching something, and that's why when I did the Advent the other day, I made sure that I pronounced the E's with the accent mark with an A. Because if you see an accent mark over an E, it's pronounced with a long A sound. That's why that brand was Saleya. because it's C-E with the accent mark, which makes it A-L-A. So, Selah. That's what it is. It was Selah because it's not Sela because there's an accent mark over the E, so that makes it a long A sound. Selah, C-E-L-A. And the C becomes a soft C. Somebody was doing one and pronounced the E as an E with the accent mark over it. I'm like, no, that's an A. Not everybody knows that. Again, it's what I grew up with because my cousin's name is French. Because we are French. So the last E on her name has the accent mark to indicate that it's an A sound. Her name is Renee, not Renee. So I forget what the accent mark is actually called. Cleft or something like that. I forget. But I grew up with that accent mark. Again, French. I'm French and Irish. Well, French and Scotch Irish. And English. And Native. That's about it. I have little tiny bits of other stuff. Like on my mother's side, we have some Norwegian. But basically, my mother's side is English, Welsh, Irish, United Kingdom. My mother's side is primarily United Kingdom and Indian. Native American. Yes, I'll take my pills in a minute. Native American. So, my dad's side is French and Scotch Irish. So, and there's a little bit of German and a little bit of Italian. The Italian comes from the fact that our French come from the south of France. Brittany, that's where Brittany is. So it makes sense that that's the language that we spoke. So, and that part of France and the Mediterranean overlaps with Italy. So I have 3% Italian on that side. Otherwise, I'm basically United Kingdom on both sides, except for the French part. So you would think I would be, and my DNA shows it, that I am mostly UK with a little bit of other stuff thrown in, and French. Those are my two majority parts of my DNA. Like I said, I have a tiny bit of Norway, 3% of Italian, and that's about it. I'm not really a mutt like a lot of people are. You know? So what I'm gonna do is call my doctor's office because this medication did not work at all. and I will keep you updated. And there's more spam. Bye, guys. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you for listening to me talk about my heritage. And I hope that you will, not the site, my literal heritage. I hope that you'll try to check yours out. Bye, guys. God bless you.